I haven't always been as kind and tender and understanding and not wanting to make waves as I am today. But that's the only time I actually made that T-shirt, and I've worn it a few times. But because people need to understand what Easter is. Now, in Spanish, there is no such thing. It is the Resurrection Sunday. They don't even have the term Easter. And so now as we're doing, what is it in the Chinese in the Mandarin?
复活节 that means the resurrection.
Okay, so it's only for the most part, in English, where the word Easter appears, certainly in Acts, that Herod put Peter in prison, intending after Easter to bring him out. Well, the word in Greek is Passover. And so, some of the King James only people, they use this as proof that the King James is directly right straight out of heaven, because even though it says Passover in every ancient text, it was really Easter that Herod was keeping. Okay, so if that's proof that the King James came right straight down from heaven and every translation on the world is wrong and the original text is wrong, then I don't know what I could do for you. This is just beyond me at that point. But that's what goes on. But why I wanted to bring you this cave, because this is the Tammuz cave, and to understand this, we have to go back to the time of Noah. It was Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Ham had a son whose name was Canaan. Unfortunately, in the English language, the closest associated noun to the pronoun is what that noun governs the pronoun. But that's not the way it is in Hebrew. The context is what determines what pronoun is related to the noun. And so we look at this and we think when Noah saw what his younger son had done, the closest associated noun to his is Noah. But the context is when Noah saw what Ham's younger son had done, he said, "Cursed be Canaan," because Canaan is Ham's younger son, and Ham is not Noah's younger son.
Right.
It gives us the order and which is the oldest and which is the youngest. And Ham doesn't fit that, but Canaan does fit the younger son of Ham. And so Noah doesn't curse somebody who doesn't do it. So he's going to curse, because Ham did something, he's going to curse Canaan? No. When Noah saw what Canaan had done, when he got drunk, when he saw that what had taken place, he said, "Cursed be Canaan." And so Canaan and the Canaanites, they were not only were they cursed, but at the Tower of Babel, they took Babylonian sun worship and brought it to this parcel of land. And the borders of the Canaanites is as detailed in the scripture from Tyre. Yep. Okay. All right. Now those names fade from me. So sometimes I feel like I have to apologize, but 2 years ago I had a stroke and I didn't think I'd ever be able to see right again. The doctor said I wouldn't be able to, so my brain gets wired, but I figure there's still enough in there and I can find it once in a while that I can still talk to you, okay? But, I still battle, things are not right in the forefront of my mind, so I figure sometimes, okay, I'll forget. So I cannot name those cities at this point, okay? That's all the apology you're going to get. But we are going to be down to one of those cities. That's Gerar, as it comes to Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. It is the border of the Canaanites. They came into this area and they brought their sexual perversion with them. That is what? They are cursed. They have brought all of the Babylonian sun worship religion with them into this parcel of land, which is the crossroads of the planet. This is where all the crossroads to link all of these continents together over here. And this was not what the plan of the Almighty was. His plan was to put his people in this land to where they could affect the entire world, not infect the entire world. And so when the sins of the Amorites, which is a family of the Canaanites, had come to a full, he said, okay, come on out, and I want you to wipe these people out. They've been given every opportunity. And yet, you know, when you name your city after sodomy, it's like, okay, this is so far out there, and people only now are we beginning to understand it with you know, John Podesta and the Pizzagate and all this of what really goes on. Where, you know, sex slaves. I mean, people are raised and imprisoned as sex slaves. This is the kind of stuff that was going on here with the Canaanites down in Gomorrah and Sodom. You know, pedophilia, you know, all this stuff that is going on in America, and, you know, that now it turns out, and Helen will probably be able to back this up, that people are given judgeships because they have so much dirt on these perverts that they will do anything that they're told to do. And this is just rampant. Washington, D.C. is rampant. And who, you know, is named as the top 50 people in Washington, D.C., 2 of them are just outright pedophile sex perverts. And then the Clintons go down and hang out on their island. And these guys are wanted down there for raping this little girl on the island. And they're wanted, but they're the best friends of Hillary and Bill. It's like, you know, this is some sick stuff. You just wanna torture them. And so this is what the angels came to Abraham and said, you know, we're on the way. And then the Almighty said, you know, we're going to torch the place. He said, if there are 50 righteous, will you save it? Yeah, I'll save it for 50. He keeps on working it down to finally it's like, you know, if you can't find 10 people here that are righteous, then, you know, it's up in flames. So we're going to be down there today, and that's why I wanted to bring you here now. Because when fire and brimstone rained down out of heaven, it incinerated that entire society of sexual perverts. And it probably stopped the first epidemics of diseases that could have infected all mankind. But this parcel of land belongs to the sons of Israel. He wanted his people to be here. And remember, it was in the Psalms that David said he divided the nations according to the, you know, can you hear me right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm fine, thank you. He divided the nations according to the number of the sons of Israel. While at the Tower of Babel, where were the sons of Israel? Hundreds of years into the future. See, he had a plan to reconcile the world to himself, to make the knowledge of the true God known throughout the earth. He had a plan for that, and he had to interrupt the Novus Ordo Seclorum of the day, the New World Order, because with everyone speaking the same language, the perversion, everything else that was going on, there's no amount of evil that would be restrained from the hands of man. And so he confused the languages, and so Babylonian sun god worship got spread throughout all the earth. And he chose a people. What he was chosen for is to be his priest, a kingdom of priests, his representatives to the entire world. So what was going on here in this parcel of land is the worship of Easter. This is a Tammuz cave, and so just briefly for those of you who we will, oh my goodness, they've lit all sorts of candles in here, and they got Jesus and Jesus is Lord. What? This is where they do child sacrifice. Wow. Just like the Church of the Nativity. It was a Tammuz cave, and it was a temple of Tammuz. Back up, who's Tammuz? First of all, Nimrod, he was the one who was putting together his kingdom, a political, an economic, a religious, one world government, and everyone bowed the knee. He was worshipped as God. It was Shem who hacked him into little bitty pieces And even though later the book of Jasher tells a different story, but this book of Jasher is not the book of Jasher they had in the beginning. This is a much later thing, and it has just been proven that, if there's anything in the original Jasher in it, we don't even know. But in this later book of Jasher, it says, who was it? Esau that killed Nimrod. Impossible. The time frame is so far off. It's hundreds of years off. No, that's one king, because this is the Shem. Hacked Nimrod into little bitty pieces, spread his land, body parts throughout the land of China, which should have ended the worship of Nimrod, but it didn't. His wife Semiramis not willing to let the kingdom slip through her fingers so readily, then she assigned priests, the sun worship priests, and they put in place all the sun worship rituals, the winter solstice, the summer solstice, the autumnal equinox, amen, etc., etc., etc. And the Almighty then confused the languages, sent them all over the world. That's why we have, all the gods of Rome, of Greece, of Egypt, all born on December 25th at the time of the winter solstice, because Semiramis becomes pregnant long after Nimrod dies, but not in a way you might suspect. No, she becomes pregnant because the rays of the sun have impregnated her, and now she brings forth her little baby Tammuz.
Oh, wow.
He lives until he's 40 years old, and then he is killed in a freak hunting accident when a wild boar gores him to death. And so they set aside 40 days of weeping for Tammuz, which is now called Lent. And after the 40, which starts out with a big sex orgy, which is still done in New Orleans, okay, which is the most religious city in America. I mean, they don't even count counties, they call them counties, they're called parishes. It is by far the most religious city. I'm not saying there's anything right about that religion. I mean, black magic, all that stuff is centered right there. It is the center of the occult, and that's where they have Mardi Gras, which is French for Fat Tuesday. Is there any water around here? Yeah, let me squeeze. Get a little bit. Okay. Oh, is this a brand new one? No, it's not. Thank you. So the when Tammuz dies, then they have then later when Semiramis dies, she ascends into heaven and is named the Queen of Heaven, sent back to the earth as Easter. The bare-breasted sex goddess who turns a bird into an egg-laying rabbit. That's why the statues of Easter back then, the bare-breasted fertility goddess, it's the same thing. Playboy magazine, it's the bunny. It's the playmates are all dressed up like bunnies, or they used to back in the 60s. I guess they probably don't dress up at all now. But they used to dress up.
The last time I was there, they were still doing that.
Oh, no. Thanks, Sergeant.
Thanks, Bob.
We got our on the scene reporter. And so the worship of Easter, when she is reincarnated, this is a Tammuz cave. This is where they have the altar of Easter. The priest of Easter would impregnate virgins on the altar of Easter on Easter Sunday, and then a year later, those little babies that were born were then sacrificed, and they dye the blood of Easter, the eggs of Easter, and the blood of sacrificed infants. You go right straight across here into the Greek Orthodox Church, and on Easter Sunday, when they get through stomping their thing through the streets, the altar is covered with blood red Easter eggs. One color, blood red. Why? Because it's the blood of babies that they were sacrificed. So this is where this happened. It is also called the place of the Tophet down here in this area, because see, now the Canaanites were ejected from the land. We were told to go in and wipe them out completely, but we didn't do it. When we came into the land, we started letting them settle in with us, and then the angel that led us out of Egypt then gathered us together at a place that was then later called Bochim, the place of weeping, and he said, okay, people, you refused to do what you were told to do. Now you are going to have to live in the midst of Babylon. These people are going to live in the midst of you. They're going to be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides. You are going to be plagued with this forever. And we were told, Moses told us, when we came into the land, as long as we kept ourselves away from the abominations of the heathen, then we would stay in the land. But when we turned the corner and went the other way, we would be ejected from the land. And that's why the 10 northern tribes, under first of all Jeroboam's influence, forsook the feast of the Lord and started doing their own thing. And then it wasn't long, well, a golden calf at Bethel and at Dan, that certainly doesn't sound like the right thing to do. And finally ejected from the land. Judah, there was a little bit sad. There are the things that they got into, but you know, not letting the land rest was the other thing, and so we went into Babylon for 70 years. But what in the world? I was wondering what that sound was.